Live. We got Greg. You got K&G. You got G from K&G Live. You know, I have my aunt, a couple of cousins on there. So it's definitely, they definitely talk about the documentary Spit and Anger and the effect that it had on them. So just stay in tune, listen up.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to go ahead and push play on that. Let's see, Spit and Anger, a documentary. Let me give you a little bit more volume.
I continue to be amazed, you know, not only by the showing, but the outpouring of support for Spit and Anger.
Had an opportunity to check out Spit and Anger. I think it's one of those critical films that you take for granted sometimes until you get dead smack into the middle of the film and you start listening to the stories of young men who have experienced life without their fathers.
I really enjoyed the movie, really looking at this plight of the anger of African-American males, of an invisible issue of the importance of being a father.
And so it's research sound, and anecdotally we can look in our communities and see it. I don't have to recite research for you to look in our communities and see what's wrong, what's happening in our communities.
The movie really was a touching movie. I think we need to get this out to so many people.
Like, I couldn't relate to not having a father. So a lot of times I say, oh, well, why do people get mad? Or why is this or why is that? Not knowing that is because their father is not there.
I think most important is that the documentary, it helps you to be able to talk. Not only are you listening, but it helps to give voice to the emotions and the feelings that are inside all of us.
This is great that you are bringing this to light in this way. It's a deep, deep pain that we suffer.
Man, there was a truthfulness to it that really hit me deep. I know I had a chance to definitely to talk afterwards, but when you're watching it, you're so engaged, and you're looking at the emotion. And I think that the best part about it was that it was raw emotion.
Yes, indeed. So, like you said, that was, Kenneth Braswell spoke on it, and just a few people who came to the event and they seen it. So, we do encourage anybody out there, who missed the event, who might have wanted to come by the event. At one of our monthly meetings with Caesar the Father, we had definitely viewed the documentary again, pieces and parts of it so that other people can see, and always go, what is it, Fathers Incorporated. Right. You can actually go to fathersincorporated.com and you can order the DVD also, he'll ship it over to you and everything like that. But you hear some of the responses from it, and, and it was deep. Like I was sitting there when we was watching, and I was like, wow, this is kind of like a counseling session for not myself, just myself, but for others who are in the audience. It was, just like, everybody's listening to this, and it was so true. And like a lot of them said, it was something that needs to be talked about that's not talked about enough. It's something that really touched me that Kenneth Braswell said when he said it at the beginning, and we're talking about fatherlessness. See, and a lot of people think when we speak about fatherlessness, we just thinking about the fathers not being there because they walked out on their kid, or, they're locked up, or, they passed away. We're thinking father, but we're also thinking fatherlessness, period, point blank. So even that father who's there, but who's always at work.
Right.
That father who's there, but he's always doing something else because he feels that he's doing his fatherly duty, to make sure that he's bringing money into the house, to make sure he's doing something. But his child is missing him emotionally. So we have to make sure that we weigh it out and fair boundaries to make sure that we give both of what needs to be done so you can be complete. And I never ever realized that would be considered fatherlessness.
Yeah, and it's definitely because we actually cover that when we talk about presence over presence. Mm-hmm. During our campaign during the month of December, we have that campaign to let fathers know that your presence is the gift that lasts a lifetime. and not the presents that we buy, so to speak, for our children. So we've always talked about being present, but being absent. So that means you're not engaged with your child. You're not involved. You're not taking them out, and you're not taking her out. You're not paying attention to them that much. But you are a provider. So there's a difference between them feeling your presence, them knowing your presence. And I talked before about a gentleman that I work with, and when his father, after 10 years being estranged from his life, came back, and how his demeanor changed, his presence changed. And the father brought him all kinds of gifts and presents. But when it was time for him to leave, he really felt the impact of the absence of his presence. Although he was there playing and wearing the presents that were given, he wanted the presence of his dad. And that was very, very powerful to see it. I mean, I know it. We have our campaign, but when you see it in person and the effects that it has, it's undeniable. It really is.
And that's you know, it's a super documentary. I like how a lot of people, because that's what I said too, you know, sitting back in the AIC auditorium with the screen up and everything. It was a movie. It was a Friday night movie. Right. And that's what we went. You went out to a movie, a grown folk movie. And you know what? It was free of charge because Seeds of a Father took care of it. You know, so that was just one of the benefits that, you know, you have to look at. Follow us, seedsoffather.org. You know, again, www.seedsoffather.org, and please stay connected, because we definitely try to stay connected with our community. You know, we don't want to float off into never land like we see a lot of other community sponsored people do. We want to definitely stay connected with our community. So make sure you follow us. www.seedsoffather.org. You can follow us on Facebook also. We got page at Seeds of Father, so /Seeds of a Father. Yeah, I think that's good with that. Now, K&G, yo, I've been for these 2 weeks, has been so much stuff that I've been reading and that I've been wanting to mention and talk about, and then it was like 4 or 5 different things people were coming at me and saying, "Yo, you should talk about this, you should talk about that," and I had them all, wrote them all down. But oh my goodness, yo, shouts out to JP. I know he said he got the app already rocking and rolling, and he actually listening from the app. Says it sounds crazy clear. Shouts out to JP, definitely, for doing your thing. So anyways, I wanted to get into you know how a few weeks ago we talked about the 16-year-old boy who ran over the 4 people and he had affluenza. Yeah. We remember the affluenza. That's a rich person's disease, I guess. We just found out that there's another rich person disease, and if anybody out there could call and got a little bit more information, because I'm going back and forth on all these screens. If we had the video running today, it'll look crazy. Look crazy right now. But you know, we're going back and forth on the screens, pulling up different stories and stuff, just so we could stay abreast of it. If anybody got information on any topic, please feel free to call in 860-385-1524. Again, that's 860-385-1524. So we talking about, I believe her name was Judge Jane, Janie or whatever. But anyways, she gave DuPont, you know, the DuPont company, DuPont, the DuPont company. He's an heir of the DuPont company. He raped his 3-year-old daughter. Let me say it again. He raped his 3-year-old daughter. And the judge gave him probation. She says sending him to prison wouldn't do him any justice because he couldn't fare a prison sentence.
But one of the things, too, because I did read up on that story, one of the things that I found out was that she was related to the gentleman.
Really? See, I
No, it's down the line, but if I read it correctly, that she was.
But there's some relations.
There's some relations. So I'm just wondering, how in the world is she even able to
reside?
Yeah, is that a conflict of interest? If it's not the immediate family or whatever, but if I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere where she was related.
Wow.
So I'm wondering, how in the world could that actually happen, to where she is able to reside and make judgment over that, and they be related? I think that's a conflict of interest. So when I seen it, and even to go back on what they suggested the punishment should be, to get a sentence and then get it suspended, that's serious. And what kind of message are we sending? What kind of message are we sending when we can do these type of things and know that you're not going to go to jail for it?
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Who are we sending these messages to, though? Like you said, what kind of message we sending? But first we had the affluenza. You don't go to jail because you have money. Now, you can't will not fare well in prison. So that means it wouldn't sit well in prison. He wouldn't be able to survive in prison. When you get that little 17-year-old boy who he's selling some weed, he don't know so much of a difference, but he gonna fare his way well in jail. We gonna make sure that he learns his way in jail, and that's what I said. This justice system is not just about us, you know. And as I said, these are the same people who let off Trayvon Martin's killer. You know, and if we don't do something about it, if we don't start talking about it more, if we don't get our information out there, if we don't start learning our rights of what we need to do, it's going to carry on. Because imagine now with the World Wide Web, how much this information travels, because this was done in Delaware. It's no way 5-10 years ago I would have heard about anything that happened in Delaware. It would have been swept under the rug. You know, and that's what I say. We have to start paying attention to what's going on. That's why I say we definitely concentrate on our community, but at the same time, we look out to surround, because what affects us on the outsides of our community actually affects our community. So you got to make sure that you know what's going on and how it's going on. But, yeah, that just blew my mind when I read that. Actually, I'm going to read a quick somebody wrote up on it. What is wrong with Delaware Judge Jane Jordan, who gave DuPont heir Robert H. Richards the fourth probation for raping his 3-year-old daughter? Again, I can't even, his 3-year-old daughter. We're talking about fatherlessness and fathers not being there, but now you got a father who there and he doing things like this. This is just, oh, man. In her mind-blowing order suspending Richard's 8-year prison sentence, Jordan gave one rationale that should launch a tidal wave of hate mail. Richards will not fare well in prison. To ask the obvious, so what? Exactly. So what? He won't do well in prison. So what? Who cares? That's what he did the crime. What they say, do the crime, you do the time. You know, and that's what I said. But if, like you said, if you let these people get away with these, what's the message that you're putting out there? What's the message that you're putting out there? So, you know, if you want to speak on that, 860-385-1524. The lines are open. 860-385-1524. You know, and that just boggles me every time I look at it and think about it. Thinking about this raping and all of this, did you hear about the guy? And this was actually in Massachusetts. The statutory, he got accused for statutory rape. They let him out. You know what happened when they let him out?
What?
He hit the lottery for $10 million. hit the lottery for $10 million. You know what he used that $10 million to do? Keep seducing little boys.
What?
Keep seducing little boys. Bought a house, bought all the toys for little boys to come, and he that's what he used the money to help. So now the government is saying that he shouldn't have that money. No, y'all should have put him in jail. You know, he wouldn't have that money to, and not even talking about the money. What about the boys that he was messing around with because he had that money? Whose blood, where did that blood lay at? Whose hands are dirty for that? Should it be judges like this? Because they let him out. They let him continue to do what he needed to do. If he was locked up, like they would have locked any other young black man up, yep, you heard me, like they would lock any other young black man up, if they would have locked any of these Caucasian men up after they did what they did, you wouldn't have to worry about him going out and winning $10 million because he wouldn't have bought that lottery ticket. You know, so it's a message being sent. And if y'all not seeing the message, we just here to give the information. You make your own assumptions and everything else, but we definitely want you to know the information that's going on out there.
And that is something that's so terrible. And as I was out and about today, you know, and with all these things going on, you know, I went by Van Horn. And this kid out there playing basketball with his pants down, like, you know how they sag their pants, and he's actually jumping around with his pants hanging off his behind.
Wow.
I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
Wow.
This is ridiculous, and you know all these different things that's going on out here. You're just inviting somebody in to do whatever they want to do, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's about carrying yourself a certain way. And no, I'm not saying that, you know, statutory rape is okay. I'm not saying none of this is okay. Is messing with these little boys. You got these teachers messing with the little boys. The teacher, a new one just came up. I believe it's in Las Vegas somewhere, and the teacher messing with an 8th grader. But then when you start reading more into the story, they said this 8th grader was 15 years old, trying the 8th grade for the 3rd time. So somewhere it was a failure somewhere, you know. And this teacher probably looking at, because she was a young teacher, one of the substitute teachers, 20, I think they said 26, 27 years old. So 26, 27 years old, and I know some 15-year-old kids, what's that, 10th grade? 10th grade, well, you're supposed to be in 10th grade. You know, that's what I said. That's you kind of going through your little phases. So I can actually see an older woman about that age being attracted, because he might have looked like he was about 18, 19. So I can see the attraction there. Again, I'm not saying that it's okay by far. You know, don't get me twisted out here to talk about, oh yeah, G from K&G said that it's all right for teachers to date. No, I'm not saying that. But the thing is that you have to look at the full stories. Now, this young boy probably made himself available to her. She probably couldn't control herself because he was making himself so available. And at that same time, somewhere in her line, she wasn't taught professionalism, obviously. You know, you keep certain things certain ways. You don't cross lines. But then I kind of got to argue with myself, because reading into the story, it says some of her text messages said, you know, I'm going to get in a bunch of trouble if somebody find out.
Well, I'll tell you this, that your desire will override professionalism. Your desire, if you don't control it, will override matrimony. Your desire will override all of that. That's why you got to be able to operate in self-control, because that it ain't nothing containing your desire but you.
Yeah.
So whether you're in a professional position or not, whether you're a student or a kid, or whether you want to violate young people, right? Whether you want to do statutory rape, whatever, you want to rob somebody, if you have that desire, that's why you got to be able to control your desire, because that will override what you know, right? Oh, I know better, but I ain't gonna do better because I'm desiring to do this thing. So that is the key point. We have to be able to have discipline and self-control, because just because we're in that type of position, like G said, we're supposed to know better, but a lot of times we don't do better. We don't, because we want to sit up there and, like I heard E. Dewey Smith say, we want to fuel and feed your flesh. You want to fuel and feed your flesh. So you want to do whatever you desire. But I just want to make this quick note. We're hoping to hear from Kevin Freeman, the UConn, national champion. The first one for the boys, when he was on the team, Springfield native Kevin Freeman. We reached out to him today. So he said definitely he's going to try to call in. So hopefully we'll be hearing from him soon, because, UConn went back to the Final Four. They're going back to the Final Four. They'll be playing this Saturday. So when you say that there aren't good people and things happening in Springfield, look and think again.
Coming out of Springfield and still coming back to represent, because you could see him at any time of day. He'd just be out here just regular, doing what he do. So, we definitely look forward to having that phone call, Mr. Kevin Freeman. And just like I said, it's a community. We stay supporting the community. So when we see good things come out of the community, we want to remind the community that was started in this community.
Yes.
Because a lot of people think that it's only bad that's going to come out of this community. And I like to tell people this. It's a story that people write about. You ever heard somebody when they're little, they say, oh, he telling a story on me. Some people call it lying, but he telling a story on me. And with that story, if I was telling a story on Kev, that means I already wrote my story out. And what I'm doing is telling somebody else to get them to believe my story about what Kev did. And as long as Kev stays quiet, I'm going to get away with my story. But if Kev speaks up and starts showing different, and then I can't get away with my story. So I tell you, don't let somebody else write a story about you, your community, or your family without you speaking up yourself to let them know it's something different. Because if somebody going to write a story, they're going to do everything in their strength and their ability to make sure that their story is believed, because they don't want to be conceived as a storyteller.
So tell your own story.
Stop telling his story and tell your own. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Don't get us started in here. It's KNG Live. Please do not get us started, because we know how to act up.
Yes, indeed. So the telephone number is 860-385-1524.
What's that again? Say it one more time.
That's 860-385-1524. We definitely want to hear from you. We like to hear from you. We like to give you a voice.
You know what I want? I want to do? I want, right now, if you in tuned, I want you to take a picture of either the website, or take a picture of yourself in front of the website, or in front of your phone, or however you listen, and however you can take a picture if you have Instagram, and post it to Instagram. And I want you to hashtag KNG Live. Again, that's hashtag KANDGLIVE. We want to see our supporters. We got our new mobile app, like I was speaking about, and we're actually going to have a photo section on that. So we're going to post up the photos of our supporters and, just let people know that we are out here. And, anytime we're doing an event or anything, or we're involved in something, we are out here. We will be out here. Apparel, because we auction off a shirt each and every Thursday when we're on the line. We take the emails through the page. You go to knglive.com and you sign up for the page. You make yourself a page and you customize it how you want to customize it. Do what you want to do. And we actually take the emails of everybody who created a page and became a member, and we raffle up those emails and we send off apparel KNG Live Apparel. So if you get that, we would like you to Instagram and hashtag KNG Live, because we definitely want to build up our brand so we could let other people know that we're here and that we are live.
Yeah, and that's for sure. And we want you to know that when about our apparel, it's not just the clothing that we put on, but it's the lifestyle that we live out. So we just want to make sure you know that we take pride in being able to be responsible, being able to provide, and being available for our families. So it's just not about the clothing that you put on, but it's about the lifestyle that you live out.
Yeah, that's heavy when you say that, because a lot of people, they wear anybody else's clothes. They wear anything else, saying anything. But when I see it, like there was a comedian who said it before, he said it best, your clothing represents who you are. Even if you could fight it till you're blue in the face, oh no, I could wear a hoodie, that don't mean a thug. We didn't say that thugs wore hoodies. We never put that out there, but the clothing you wear, if you wear a hoodie with your pants halfway down your behind and the hoodie got skulls and bones on it, you either a thug or a skater. You choose, and if you're not, that's who you're representing to be. So like Kev say, it's not about the clothes we put on. It's about the lifestyle we live out. So when you see us with some clothing on, if it's KNG Live, or if it's I'm a father because of what I do, not what I did, fatherhood, I'm about that life, seeds of a father, he, father, trust and believe. These are things that we doing. I'm not wearing my sweater or my T-shirt talking about fatherhood and leaving my kids at home while I'm doing something. We have events, 9 times out of 10, you're going to see my child at that event with me, learning what I learned. You could check it out on the Instagram if you want. If you don't believe the words that are coming out of my mouth, you could go check it out for yourself. And you see the pictures of me and my seeds and me planting seeds in my seeds. So it's definitely something that we want to live out. And, again, to put it out there, watch how you dress. My boy Daryl Moss, shouts out to D Moss out there. He had made a comment on Facebook before, and he said that why do people say brothers who wear suits are sellouts? And it was just a simple answer from me to that question was 9 times out of 10, the ones who don't understand why you're wearing a suit are the sellouts. Because they're the one selling out somebody else's store, Nike, True Fan, True Religion, all of those. They're selling out somebody else's stuff. But the men who are in the suit actually dressing for that next encounter. You have to put that uniform on. You see a cop and he has a uniform on, then you know that that's a cop. If you see Santa Claus, and the reason you know that that's Santa Claus is because he got a certain uniform on. So if I'm about my business, why wouldn't I wear business attire? That's not saying that I can't go on a weekend and put my hoodie on and put my jeans on or my sweatpants and just sit back and relax and still have quote unquote swag. But while I'm doing my business, I'm going to dress like my business needs to be dressed. When I go to remodel a house, no, I'm not going to be in a suit because that's foolish. So when I go to court or if I go for a job interview, no, I'm not going to go in my home remodeling, hole in my pants, dirty sweater. No, because I am not a fool. You have to dress to where you're going to be. You know what I mean? Don't keep doing the things that you're doing. Not saying that if you can't afford these fancy dancy suits and all of that, I'm not saying to go out and break your bank trying to keep up with other people. But when you're trying to be somewhere, like they say, as the Romans, when you're in Rome, you have to do as the Romans. If you're trying to be a lawyer, you can't go in there with your Nikes, your sweatpants, and think that you about to go in front of a judge and represent somebody, because I know if you was my lawyer, you would be fired immediately. You understand what I'm saying? Immediately. Give me that man over there with a suit on.
Yeah,
At least he know what he talking.
Yeah, you have to definitely dress to match the occasion. And unfortunately, a lot of time, people, they go to interviews and different things, and I don't know if they don't know better or they don't have better. But we definitely need to build up our closets for different occasions. People say, they accept you as you are, but some people, before you even get your resume out, they're looking at your presentation. That's why I feel it's very important what you project.
Okay.
Because they can see you before they hear you, right? And then it takes a strong person to be able to look beyond, right? You know what it reminds me of?
Talk to him.
It reminds me of that movie that Will Smith played in, The Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh, yeah.
When, he wanted to get that job, and the guy had always seen him out there dressed up trying to sell those X-ray machines or whatever. And my dude got the call, man, he ran down there, man. He was painting. He ran down there, right up in there with them painted pants on and all of that. And he's like, yo, I normally don't dress like this. You got to trust me. And, they overlooked it. That was something. I wouldn't try it, though. That was the movie.
Yeah.
Plus, he was black. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't try it, really. But it just goes to show you that it focused on his presentation, though.
Mm-hmm.
They did mention it. But what I was saying behind that, it takes a strong person to be able to overlook that stuff. Because some people, they don't want to give you the job anyway. They don't want to afford you the opportunity anyway. So they're looking for something to dismiss you.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up. They're looking for something to throw you, okay, thank you, right in the trash.
So with the circular file.
Right in the garbage. So, you got to be able to dress for success and present yourself the best way possible. And I even heard someone saying, when you're going into court, don't overdress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're sending another message.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna just dress up. He's gonna dress his way out of this situation.
Yeah. And that's definitely a key thing, not to overdress, because oh my goodness, you're about to get me into all of this dressing thing, because all the kids and people, even parents, they want to know, well, I don't think that our kids should be wearing uniforms to school. I think they should be able to wear what they want to wear and have the freedom to do what they want to do. First of all, two things. When you send a child to school in a uniform, correctly dressed in uniform, not all extra tight or extra baggy, trying to have quote unquote swag. You put him with his pants on his hips as a young boy, a belt on his waist, and his shirt tucked in. He becomes familiar and accustomed to dressing this way. So even if he goes out, he plays basketball, he puts his shorts on, he does what he needs to do, or he comes home, he changes his clothes, he understands and he feels accustomed to dressing this way. So if you were to put a suit and a tie on this young man, he wouldn't feel uncomfortable. You ever see the boy, they put clothes on and they like moving and they can't sit right. You get some pants that just don't fit you right. It's not that they don't fit you right. You're not accustomed to wearing those pants. They don't feel right. So you trying to pull them down a little bit because they ain't on your butt right or whatever it may be. And this actually takes away because, and I'm talking from experience, y'all. Don't think I'm just making some stuff up. Because when we're doing interviews and we paid attention to things like this, we paid attention to your demeanor. We paid, like you say, they were impressed by his presentation. Yes, we listened to your presentation to see where you at, and sometimes your presentation will outweigh it. But first, we focus on these things. Well, he can't sit still in his seat. That's just a little note right there. He's not comfortable. You know, he's not comfortable. Now he ain't comfortable with where he's dressed, and he see me over writing notes. Now he thinking I'm writing something bad about him. Now he gets more uncomfortable, and now he can't really get his presentation correct. Why? Because he started off uncomfortable because his clothes didn't fit him the way he's used to him fitting them.
Well, one of the things too, and shout out to my beautiful fiance,
Holla,
Jaquita. She sent a message about the movie. What was that movie we were just talking about? Pursuit of Happiness.
Yep.
And she said that they referred to the fact that they had always seen him in a suit many times before.
Oh, okay. So they knew.
They knew, right? So they knew that something had to be up. You see what I'm saying? So once the people identify you in a certain way, that's actually a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if something happened, they can say, wait, something must be wrong. Because I haven't seen him looking like that. All the time I've seen him, he was dressed up in the suit.
Yeah.
Or he was presenting himself, is everything okay? So that's part of your makeup. That's part of your expectation of what they expect from you. So when you're not acting like yourself, you'll be able to even get some help. Because they identify, well, something must be wrong. Because this is not what we normally see from him. So these things are very, very important. You know, I can't emphasize it enough. And you can't really force it on anybody, but I definitely try to model these things before my daughter, you know. And it's important to me on how she dresses and how she looks. Mm-hmm. Not that she doesn't have anything else to offer. Mm-hmm. She has plenty and many other things to offer. But I'm going to shout out, you know, these kids. Because these kids, they can be real truthful and real hurtful. Mm-hmm. No, because if you ain't smelling right, they going to tell you you stink.
Yeah.
You know
and
what I mean? If your hair nappy, your hair nappy, your hair nappy. You know what I mean? You look like a hot mess. And, you know, working in the field that I work in, man, and knowing that the fact of that, you know, what you say to people, it carry it from somebody sitting there right now. And somebody told them that they're never going to mount up to nothing. Mm-hmm. They can still remember, whether you use those words that are said against you to motivate you to be the opposite, you still remember them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the thing about it is that your presentation, some things that from your presentation, how it affects other people and what they say to you, it can give you a lasting impression, and it can either hurt you or motivate you to do better. So 860-385-1524. We know we're jumping around here, hitting many different topics. Like we said, this is our first day back in a couple of weeks. We got our new application that we're working on, that we're trying to get things connected. So if you have anything that you would like to discuss or talk about, 860-385-1524.
Connects us to you and you to us. Hey, again, we on that Instagram, and like I said, we want you to go ahead and send those pictures out. Hashtag KNG Live. Hashtag KNG Live. Just send us a picture. You go in there, check out a few of our pictures that we have up there, and so forth, so on. Got our listener shout out to Mimi Kids. That's Roxanne. That's her. Mimi Kids. Me, my kids, or Mimi Kids. I don't know how she said. Me, my kids. But shouts out. I know she out there. She got us in tune. Shout out to Shelly B 222. She following us. She got us in tune. Latoya 910. She got us in tune. She following behind us. P Nice 31. He got us in tune. He following behind us. Ric Flair, he got us in tune. He following behind us. And DJ Chaplin TV, they following us. They got us. D Slocum, he got us in tune. Elite Studios, they got us in tune. And Candy Thick Diva. They in tune. You know, we do appreciate the support. Pia 131. Make sure, you know, they got us in tune. P. Nice mentioned you in the comment. Why wear anything else when you could wear who you are? I am a father because of what I do, not because of what I've done. Order yours now. Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, indeed. That's tight right there.
Definitely.
Wear who you are.
You know,
Be who you are.
Be who you are. There we go. As I said, so shouts out to all our listeners, all our followers, all our supporters. It's KNG Live each and every Thursday night. You know what? We got a little bit more time. If I want to give Kev a little bit more time, we could run to about 9:30 if you want to run to 9:30. I don't know what he said about the call and what's scheduled, because I know they down in Texas now, right?
Yeah.
In Texas.
Is it Texas?
Or New Orleans. Somewhere. I know they went down. It's somewhere down there. I know because they just came back from New York. They played down in New York, and I think that's where they was off to Texas or one of them. They down at the Final Four waiting. So
yes, indeed.
His schedule might be a little bit busy. We might need to catch him next week after all of the games and after they do what they do out there on the court.
After they win. You know what I'm saying? We're going to speak that right now.
Yeah. Hey, you got to be careful, too, because KNG Live, when we speak it, you see what happened to them Putnam boys. Western Mass to States, back to back.
Yes, indeed.
So, you know, Kev, you know what? Real quick before we jump out, I know it's Season of Father, but it's also KNG Live because Season of Father and KNG Live is one. You understand what I'm saying? So what Season of Father, KNG Live support, and what KNG Live do, Season of Father support. So I just want you to run down, if you don't mind, shh, or push.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And we had an opportunity to go in and speak to the youth around the city. And some acronyms that I came up with to be able to encourage people to be able to pursue their goals. There's a lot of times when you're in transition, a lot of times people hate on you.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I mean? And sometimes people don't know what to do. So actually I have, a story behind this. We went to support Putnam at the semifinal state game, and was a little bit shocked because our people weren't cheering that loud. But right in the beginning, I sat right behind the visiting team's students. And they were rowdy, and there were a whole bunch of them, too. And, so when they announced their team, they were cheering and everything. They were going in. And then when they announced the state champions, from last year,
back to back,
they turned their backs on them. So when they introduced the players from Putnam, they actually turned their backs.
So what you mean they turned around and turned their backs
when they were being announced?
Wow.
So I kind of got offended, and with me, I'm not even a Beaver. I went to Central. I'm a Golden Eagle, but being a part of the community and knowing all the adverse things that these kids overcome, I felt offended. And right sitting next to me was the principal of the school that Putnam were playing. So they started to play. Putnam went up by 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 points. I mean, it was getting it in, just pushing the ball up the court.
They did what?
They were pushing the ball up the court. And so the principal leaned over to me and said, "Man, they really pushed that ball up the court." I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Man, they are blowing us out." I said, "Yes, indeed." But when I thought about and had an opportunity to go to Putnam, and I'm thinking, what would I tell them? And I came up with this acronym called PUSH.
PUSH.
And PUSH stands for
P.
Your performance.
You.
Undoubtedly.
S.
Silences.
H.
Haters.
What?
Your performance undoubtedly silences haters. What had happened was when Putnam started going up by 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 points, they ain't had nothing to say.